This is what Star Wars is. Look at this.
Him.
Western.
Robinson.
I
It's
know.
Cad Bane.
I
It's
know.
Cad Bane.
I know. Look at his sharp little teeth.
Oh my God, I can't take it. I can't take it.
Things play out.
Yo, he does feel menacing right now.
Oh my God.
He looks good.
I'd be careful where I was sticking my nose if I were you.
Look, he has.
Oh shit!
Oh, he's so dead. Guys, wow. We're talking Book of Boba Fett, episode 6. This is our reaction or review. Hope everyone's doing great out there. Rob, wow.
Yes.
This is the most craziest hour of Star Wars
This is the
content.
best episode of The Mandalorian. I mean, Book of Boba Fett I've ever had.
I mean, Star Wars episode 6.5. I mean,
Oh my God, this is
Wow,
this
Rob.
has everything. So
just go ahead, Rob.
Yes.
What did you think? I need to get myself together. and set up.
So obviously, guys, this is an amazing episode, chock full of stuff. But before I get into the details of everything, the overall feel, this feels like what Star Wars wanted to do, Chris, right? This feels like this is that space western that you want. Obviously, we get the dust, but like this is the opera, that slow, long form burns. And then the scenes with like Luke Skywalker taking things slow with the mystical arts, like you're able to get overwhelmed with emotion. Like, yes, this is magic. This is what Jedi training is doing. Him lifting all the frogs, him interacting with Grogu. Then you see the high speeds of like the Mando ship cut back to the western of Cobb Vanth, and the first ever live action appearance of Cad Bane, and like you get that western feel in space, and it's like this is the emotional feel that Star Wars has been going for the last 30, 20, however many years it is, 60 years, 80 years. This right here is like what George Lucas envisions when he created Star Wars. And I'm so happy to see that it landed very well. I do have, before we get into all the fun stuff, I do have a caveat, like a little thing that like was bothering me, Chris.
Go for it.
And you guys let me know if I'm sounding crazy or not. Luke Skywalker, I get like he's supposed to be this bigger than life, like master Jedi, right? When we left him, we know his father died. He's moving forward in his journey. For me, in this episode, he feels so stagnant. Like he just feels so monotone and so like monk style. And like when I think of Luke Skywalker, I don't really think of that, right? I don't think of that change, and I guess that's maybe me, and I have to get used to it. But it just felt very dry. Every time he would talk, it's just like drawn out, like kind of like a wannabe Obi-Wan, and it just didn't feel like Luke was actually being his Luke self. I felt like he was being like the Jedi Master that he thought he had to be.
Well, I think that's two reasons for you, Rob. I think one, it's still an uncanny valley with not only the look of Luke Skywalker, the CGI, which the CGI was so much better this time around.
Yes, it was.
Than we saw at the end of Mandalorian season 2, but also, yeah, like that's Luke. That is Luke 100%. Return of the Jedi and post, right? He becomes Return of the Jedi. We see him as a full-fledged Jedi Knight. He's way more monotone. He's less emotional. He's less like erratic with his behavior. That is Luke. I felt like it was the closest thing you get to Luke without literally having some serum to de-age Mark Hamill. But honestly, Rob, everyone, for me, this is Star Wars. Like this is the best hour or so of Star Wars I've seen since the original trilogy. This is Dave Filoni pulling at my heartstrings, absolutely 100% understanding George Lucas's lore, absolutely living up to, as Rob just said, the George Lucas world that he created. And for me, as an uber Star Wars nerd, and this is basically my religion at this point. This is something that I dreamed of seeing every day since I fell in love with the original trilogy. The questions of what does Luke do after the movies end? And what is going on? Does he rebuild the Jedi? For so long, we only had the books and the Legends books, and then that wasn't canon anymore, right? And now Disney has a new canon, and the fact that this is something that every Star Wars fan has dreamed of seeing, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes here and there, is the most beautiful thing I could absolutely express in this way.
This episode did such a good job at filling in those holes, especially with Luke building his new students, his new empire. Building his students, building that new academy that he wants to build that we saw in the sequel trilogies, right, guys? Going back to this, like replaying this episode in my head, we were right about a lot of things, which is awesome, right? It's awesome to like get things right. Like, oh, this is the reason why Luke's gonna train other people. But like seeing Ahsoka in this episode, that's something I didn't really think we were gonna see, but we did. but like it was different than what we thought. Like it wasn't her training him, it was Luke, but she was there with Luke. And obviously there was Chris, they had to have that conversation about, you know, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. Luke got to know them a little bit better, and maybe we're gonna see that in the live action Ahsoka series. What do you think?
I hope so. We have to at this point, right? Like, guys, it's basically inevitable at this point. And to see Ahsoka there, obviously the first big surprise after the Luke Grogu stuff.
Yeah.
And a couple of the lines, obviously, like, you know, struck right through my chest plate, which was, she's a friend of the family. That was beautiful. Sweet. And then Luke saying, Rob, I don't know if you caught this, but Luke saying, "Will I see you again?" And that's the line Anakin says to his mother as he leaves Tatooine.
Oh, I thought that was just like, hey, I know you're gonna go do some stuff. When am I gonna hang out later?
Yeah, no, that was the line little Anakin says to his mom before he leaves Tatooine forever to become a Jedi, and Luke says it after she's like, "You're just like your father," just like Yoda says to him. And my like face blew up. And yeah, seeing Ahsoka there and kind of the mediator, right? Like, I told you, you're gonna be attached to him, and I told you this, which is also great because like, we're focusing on all these great characters, but Mando is going through it, man. Like, he is emotionally attached to his quote-unquote kid, right? His foundling. And I love seeing kind of the turmoil where he's kind of holding the gift, and he's like, should I go? Should I not? To go see him. And I thought it was just a beautiful moment. And Ahsoka there kind of reaffirming the situation, and now she's going off to do whatever the hell she's going to do now, was a beautiful touch. And seeing her and Luke Skywalker interact in live action, Rob,
that's
like,
so weird. Like, it's like a perfect meld of like the prequel trilogy and the mainline trilogy just working seamlessly. Yes, exactly.
And to me, that's something only Dave Filoni could give us, right? Like, that is
did such a good job.
That is a pure Dave Filoni moment. That is someone who's a fan who just so happened to be trained by the master himself, George Lucas.
Yeah.
And that is something that, you know, seeing Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker together is not something you think is ever going to happen, regardless of this new stuff, right? Like, it's an amazing moment, even for that 5-second conversation, which we hope, obviously, to see more of in her own show.
I know we all love the training montage of Luke with Grogu, and then the cliffhanger ending of what he's going to choose. We're going to talk about that in a whole separate video. We're going to dedicate that to Grogu and Luke Skywalker. Seems only right. This is, you know, the Book of Boba Fett show. We want to talk a little bit about what's currently going on in the Book of Boba Fett and how much we enjoyed it, right? So we know that Mando's there. Fennec Shand is giving a breakdown to the whole posse, right? And now it's like, oh, and the Mandalorian here, and Boba Fett leading them with Fennec Shand. Like, they have a formidable force here, Chris, and it's getting really excited. I know we only saw Boba Fett for like 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But like, Mando's going to get more people, going to get Cobb Vanth and like all them for help to have more warriors to fight off Tatooine. And it's like, I'm really getting excited because it's like, again, this is something that I felt like could have easily, in the old Star Wars way of doing things, Mando could have gone off world, try to get some Mandalorians or some other crew and come down. But they kept it local. They kept it onto the planet of Tatooine. It's Tatooine fighting for itself. We're getting really immersed into this world here. I am loving every second of it. And seeing Cobb Vanth again with Mando on the screen was such an enjoyable thing.
I agree with you 100%, Rob. I love that they're keeping it local, right? Like, I love that it's like, no, this is a Tatooine problem. Tatooine's going to take care of Tatooine, right? It's not, you know, we saw last episode, Mando's not really good with his Mandalorians, right, guys? Like, he had to admit he took the helmet off. Now he has to, his own mission, hopefully we'll see in season 3 of Mandalorian. But, you know, it's keeping it local. It's the friendships he made along the way that are now going to help out Boba Fett, which connects the two even better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Rob, again, and then Dave Filoni strikes again.
Stalk.
And he brings in a slow motion guy from the distance. I'm like, and in my head, I'm literally, when I saw the video, I was like, oh, is it a mirage? Is this real? Like, I thought it was like almost Mando walking back. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, who could this be?
Right, as Mando leaves, by the way, which is perfect timing.
Perfect timing, right? And Cad Bane walks onto the set.
So,
what?
Real quick, loved every second of it, but like, seeing Cobb Vanth and seeing him again in this show made me realize how much I enjoy this character. We want to get more of him, especially in this world of Tatooine, right? So like Pelimoto, these Jawas, these fixtures of Tatooine need to be highlighted more. And I'm sure the rest of the show and series of Book of Boba Fett. But focus in here, Cobb Vanth, you see his skills, right? And like, it's totally, you get into that Western vibe. he notices a change in the air, Chris, on the desert planet. He looks around, he sees the jingles around there, the music. He's like, listen, go inside. And I'm like, this is a space western. And I start screaming at the top of my lungs in the middle of my living room. The neighbors are knocking on my door saying, are you okay? I said, I had a heart attack. It's the book of Boba Fett. They ran downstairs and put it on. It was a beautiful moment.
They said, what a nerd, and left.
And seeing this shadowy cowboy, this outlaw rider walking to town. Ching, ching, ching. That's Spurs, guys. I was so happy. And then seeing his face, his sharp little teeth, his great visual face. It looks so good. And like, obviously the Piker here, they're saying, hey, stay out of this. Don't worry about it. And we're going to give you money. That's kind of like everybody's deal. Nobody gets involved in our fights. We'll give you money. We're going to settle this like old school Western. My crew versus your crew.
So good.
Which means I guess the Syndicate's going to have more than just Cad Bane. I can't imagine it. But just let alone Cad Bane being there is deadly. But when you have Fennec Shand, Black Chrysanthemum, Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, there is some deep trouble. And I know I went off a little bit, guys, but my ADHD rush was there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, I didn't even think I would see more than 5 minutes of Luke and Grogu, and they spent half the episode on it, let alone see Ahsoka, and then see Cad Bane in its first ever live action, who looked almost perfect. And it was the same voice. Corey Burton came back to do the voice, which he did throughout all of Clone Wars, which is fantastic. The hat brim, like the old school Clint Eastwood Western, right? Where you don't see the full face until late, and he doesn't tell you his name, but you know who he is.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Like, he ignores it every time he asks, like, I didn't get your name, partner. And he's like...
But real quick, for those who don't know, right? That is building up such a big suspense. So I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't know who that character is, who doesn't watch any of the animated stuff. So your regular everyday Joe who's watching these two shows, which is that population is growing more because of how successful this is, they're like, who is this outlaw? I have no idea who this is. So there's this big sect of all of us losing our mind because we know who that is. And there's also the sect, like, they're losing their mind. There's some cowboy here who just outshot everybody and just walked away in the sunset. Everybody's losing their mind, whether you know the character or not. And it was just done fantastically.
It was amazing. And also, once Mando landed and that jerk store came out and started bitching about, like, parking, I'm like, this guy's dead. Like, I mean, like, all right, who's going to kill this guy? Like, he's annoying. Get him out of my face.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that not only Cad Bane killed him, but killed him thoroughly. Like, it was just, like, 7 shots. And, like, the second they went into, like, the draw mode and the hands started, like, tingling over the guns, guys, I was like, please, I'm like, oh my God, Cobb Vanth is dead. Like, you're not gonna.
Yeah, I thought Cobb Vanth was dead.
You're not gonna beat him. I don't think he's dead. I think he's still alive.
I think so
he's
too.
Effed up.
Yeah.
But I think he's alive, and I think you're right on the money, Rob. If they are paying for someone of Cad Bane's, stature and everything else, there could be other people in place in the wings as well. And Cad Bane, for those who don't know, has very much unfinished business with Boba. He actually trained Boba.
And with Fennec Shand, remember?
And with Fennec Shand, as we saw with Fennec Shand in Bad Batch, they have unfinished business too. She knows who he is. Boba knows who he is. I'm sure Black Chrysanthemum knows who he is. And this is going to be an absolute insane Western war for the end of this series, Rob. And I am here for it. And it better be 3 hours long.
I only have one question for you. Who else does he have with him? Like, who does the Pike have with him? My initial thoughts, right? Okay. 2 names come to mind. Bosk is that lizard assassin guy, and we saw. Thank you, the Trandoshans, which we've seen on the planet, which would be cool to see a Trandoshan in the limelight, if you will, like a bigger name character. And I guess IG-88 or like another one of the assassin droids, which we saw in Mando. It doesn't have to be the same one, right? Because it exploded, obviously. It could just be another one of those things, and it'd be really cool to see that. And we already know how dangerous that thing is and how capable it is. So it would hit a soft spot in our hearts.
Totally. I think after this episode, guys, like, everything's on the table now, right? Like we just got
Darth Maul is coming.
We just gotta. Well, so that was when the person was walking. I went, oh my God, is that Kira? Is this Crimson Dawn?
Oh, ooh.
And I was like, is that Kira just walking into town, like ready to go with her like double blades? And so I think there's a possibility Kira shows up. I think Baylor Valance is still on the table. I think
that's the cyborg guy, right? That's the cyborg bounty hunter?
He's the cyborg bounty hunter from the comics. He kind of looks like a Terminator with half of his face. I think Bosk is very clearly an option because we've seen a bunch of Trandoshans in the area.
Why not?
We know they run kind of a sector of Mos Espa. and why wouldn't Boss be there? He has history with Black Chrysanthemum, and that would be a great fight to see. But I also think you're going to have a lot of Pikes just with guns, right? You're going to have a lot of Syndicate members with guns. And I don't know if there's anyone, it's going to have to be Boba Fett versus Cad Bane, right? We're going to have to see the showdown, the OK Corral showdown of Cad Bane and Boba, right?
As much as I want to, I think we're going to see Cobb Vanth and Fennec Shand take down, oh my God.
Cad Bane.
Thank you. I'm having a hard time remembering his name today.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Fennec Shand teaming up with Cobb Vanth to take on. It's Cobb Vanth. That name just stuck.
Cobb Vanth.
Cad
Bane.
Cad Bane. That's what it is.
It's very similar.
All right, one more time. I think it's going to be Cobb Vanth and Fennec Shand taking on Cad Bane. I could definitely see that. I mean, every part of my heart wants Mando to go against Cad Bane, though.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
So, like, I want that because, like, they both feel like the outlaw westerns of that family, right? Because when you think of that Boba Fett family, if you put them into archetypes, right? Boba is the mafioso. He's the mob boss, right? You have Black Chrysanthemum, the big muscle brute, right? So you kind of want to match them up. Maybe Boss gets a little bigger. You can fight him. Fennec Shand's the tactician, the genius, right? You gotta have somebody against her. And Mando is that speedy outlaw, which now with that ship, he's fitting into that kind of role. It would make sense for him to kind of fight Cad Bane. I don't know.
Whoever ends up fighting whoever, it's gonna.
It doesn't even matter.
Insane.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this final episode, and I'm so happy that again Filoni is just giving the fans more than even what they asked for, right? Like,
yeah, man.
If we would have just gotten Luke and Grogu in this episode, we would still be flipping out, Rob. And he gave us that and Ahsoka and Cad Bane live action. He brought Cobb Vanth back. He's bringing Mando back into this show. Fennec Shand is live action. Like, it is insane what him and Favreau are doing right now in these television series that are now, in my opinion, rivaling that original trilogy of movies.
Oh, I agree.
Because I haven't felt this way since I was 7 years old, Rob. And there is nothing that can replace that right now. And I want to watch this episode every day for the rest of my life.
The last thing we want to leave with you guys before we end today's episode, I'm already hearing some worries that, like, this story's so good. I think Mando season 3 is coming next. What if we don't continue this world of Boba Fett and what's going on? I think this episode showed and proved to us how fluid and interconnected these story characters are. So just because we're going to go into the Mando next, right? And now we're going to not book a Boba Fett season 2, doesn't mean the story's not going to continue. This story with the Boba Fett and him being a mafia boss and everything at Tatooine is going to be a lot bigger than we think. I think it's going to be the core of all the TV show crossovers. So I think we're going to get a lot more of this. So be patient.
I 100% agree with you. And guys, I totally think this is going to be the case, right? Just because Mando kind of came over and Luke and Ahsoka and everyone's like, oh my God, they took over the show. Like, who even cares about Boba Fett anymore? I think Boba's going to have his time in the sun. I think he's going to be shown in other things, but it doesn't take away from the almost perfectness, if not perfectness, of this episode.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review and reaction of the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 6. Let us know what you thought down in the comments below and your theories for the final episode and the future of the TV show Star Wars universe.
And guys, thank you so much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, like. It really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any more of our Book of Boba Fett talk. There's a lot to talk about before the finale, and you do not want to miss it. If you missed anything, make sure to check it out right here on the channel. As always, we hope you guys love this episode as much as we did. And I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.